Chapter 8. No snitching. No solutions. The street code that protects killers. In too many neighborhoods, silence has become a religion, a law of the land. It doesn't matter what happened, who was hurt, or how clear the truth is. You stay quiet. You look the other way. You pretend you didn't see a thing. And if you dare speak up, tell the truth, or demand accountability, suddenly you're the problem, not the one who did the damage, but the one who broke the silence. Not the shooter. Not the thief. Not the predator. You're the rat. The snitch. The traitor. The cycle continues. The neighborhoods fall apart. The fear grows thicker than the air. And nobody says a word.
The myth of the code. The no snitching code has been around for decades, passed down like a sacred tradition. Some call it loyalty, some call it survival, but most don't call it what it really is: a trap. At its core, the code was born from trauma and truth. Historically, there were reasons not to trust law enforcement. Police brutality, false accusations, planted evidence, and corruption weren't myths. They were realities. In inner-city communities, cops weren't seen as protectors. In that environment, people learned early: keep your mouth shut, protect yourself, and don't let the system use your words to ruin someone's life, even if that person was guilty. But over time, that survival tactic twisted into self-destruction. It's no longer about shielding the community from unjust cops. It's about shielding criminals from accountability. Silence has become a weapon that protects the worst. And the people paying the highest price? They aren't the shooters. They aren't the gang leaders. They're the innocent, the bystanders, the children, the shopkeepers, the grandmothers, the ones with no voice, no protection. Here's what silence looks like in practice. A 13-year-old boy gets jumped and beaten so bad, he ends up in the hospital. Everyone knows who did it. Nobody talks. A corner store owner gets robbed 3 times in 6 months, finally gives up, and closes shop. Now the neighborhood is losing access to groceries. A young woman is assaulted in her own apartment building. No one comes forward. No justice. Everybody knows, but nobody tells. And for what? To protect the very people causing the most damage? To uphold some outdated, cowardly version of loyalty? Let's call it what it is: insanity. Because what kind of culture protects killers? What kind of community watches tragedy unfold and responds with shrugs, silence, and sealed lips? We all know the silence is selective. People won't say a word when a child gets shot in the street. But let someone cheat on them? It's a full expose on Facebook. Let someone owe them money? They're airing it all out. But when it comes to a murder, a robbery, or a rape, suddenly everyone forgets how to speak. That's fear dressed up as street code. Let's stop pretending, because most of the silence isn't loyalty, it's cowardice. Meanwhile, the real enemy walks free, laughing, knowing nobody will challenge him, knowing the code has his back, knowing he owns the block because nobody will open their mouth.
The culture of fear. In a no-snitch neighborhood, fear is king. People install cameras but don't report what they see. They peek through blinds instead of speaking up. They comfort each other with platitudes like, "God will handle it," while the killers plan their next move. Mothers bury sons and daughters with no closure. Victims cross paths with their abusers at the corner store. Good kids stay indoors while the violent roam free. You know what that feels like? Hostage life. Not freedom. Not pride. Not community. When silence becomes the law, justice disappears. And in its place we get more grief. More funerals. But times have changed. Anyone can use an anonymous tip line. It's the absolute least that should be accepted by everyone.
Why people still stay quiet. Let's be honest about what fuels the silence. First, there's the fear of retaliation. The old warning, "snitches get stitches," is still very real. People worry about getting hurt or targeted, so they stay quiet. But silence isn't safety. It's surrender. There are ways to speak up anonymously, without revealing your name or number. If you know someone who has taken a life, call it in. Period. Lives are lost not just because of violence, but because of the silence that follows. Second, there's the obsession with street cred and image. In certain neighborhoods, being called a rat is worse than being called a liar, a thief, or a criminal. People are more concerned with how they're perceived than with doing the right thing. And when image matters more than truth, the cycle continues, one death, one lie, one silence at a time. Lastly, trauma and hopelessness play a major role. Some people have lived through so much violence that they've become emotionally numb. They've watched the system fail too many times to believe anything will ever change. That kind of pain turns into resignation. It becomes a toxic mindset, ain't no point. But that mindset is not strength, it's slow decay. It's learned helplessness. And it's killing communities from the inside out.
What needs to change? As a community, we must start holding our local district attorneys accountable. Far too often, when someone is murdered in the inner city, the killer was someone who should have already been behind bars. The justice system has failed us again and again by letting dangerous people walk free. These failures aren't just mistakes, they're often the result of backdoor deals, bribes, and deep-rooted corruption. And because ghetto culture too often ignores values like accountability and integrity, it creates the perfect environment for this to continue. That has to change. Justice should protect the innocent. We also need to start supporting the truth-tellers. The people who speak up are not snitches, they're heroes. They're not sellouts, they're the brave few keeping the line between chaos and community. That kind of courage should be honored, defended, and celebrated, not mocked or shunned. If we want more people to come forward, we have to stop punishing the brave and start standing behind them. You can't arrest or pray your way out of this mess. Real change starts with redefining what loyalty means. Loyalty isn't about protecting the one who pulled the trigger, it's about protecting the ones who could be next. It's standing up for the child caught in the crossfire, demanding better for your neighborhood, and refusing to cover for killers. And yes, we must rebuild trust with law enforcement. Some officers are corrupt. Others are trying to help. But the streets won't clean themselves. That doesn't mean blind loyalty to police. It means holding them accountable while also working with the ones who show up for the community. Train them better. Demand integrity. But don't cut off communication. In addition, we must raise the next generation to respect authority. That's how you break the cycle. It's not easy to stand up. It's not easy to point a finger and say, that's who did it. It's scary. It's dangerous. It can be lonely. But you know what's worse? Watching your neighborhood rot in silence. Watching kids die while the community posts prayers but says nothing. That's not strength. That's failure dressed up as loyalty. Real courage is breaking the silence. Courage isn't about hiding behind a code. It's about standing up to what's wrong, no matter the price.
Simple real-world solutions. Number 1. Reframe the definition of snitching. Use community spaces to clarify that reporting crimes, especially violent ones, is not betrayal, but protection. Separate survival from street loyalty in open dialogue. Number 2. Promote safe, anonymous reporting. Publicize tip lines, apps, and third-party channels that allow people to report crime without fear of retaliation. Make these tools visible in public spaces, social media, and community events. Number 2. Hold the district attorney accountable. Encourage open discussions about cases where justice was denied. Talk to fellow voters and demand answers. Organize voting drives to replace weak, soft-on-crime DAs with ones who value public safety over politics. Don't just complain. Vote the garbage,